So before I start, this is going to be a big video. I'm going to be brushing over a lot of different things, and I may not be able to cover it all in one video. So if something comes up that requires a little more in-depth explaining, I'll play this little jingle, and I'll continue the subject in another video. Now, on to the show. Hello. Welcome to Binerdy, where a bisexual talks about nerdy things, and today we're going to be talking about the T in LGBTQIA. That means transgender. So, what does it mean to be transgender? Someone who is transgender, or trans for short, is someone who doesn't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. It's a gigantic umbrella that covers many different forms of gender expression.
Assigned at birth? What does that mean?
Well, when a baby is born, doctors usually ascribe a gender to the newborn based upon the size and shape of their genitals. If it looks like female genitalia, then it's a girl, and vice versa for men. For transgender people, the terms assigned male at birth and assigned female at birth are used to describe this. For those who do identify by their assigned gender, they are referred to as cisgender, or cis for short.
So if someone was identified as male by a doctor at birth, but identifies as female, they would be assigned male at birth and identify as a transgender woman?
That's right.
So what if someone doesn't identify as either male or female?
In that case, they may be non-binary. Society expects us to see gender as either male or female, a binary, absolutely nothing else. And that's not right at all. Gender, much like sexuality, is a spectrum that has many different facets. That being said, those people who identify as something other than their assigned gender may not identify as trans. There are plenty of reasons for that, but that's for another video.
Wow, that's a lot of different gender expressions. How am I supposed to know how to identify them?
Well, you really can't. There's no real way to physically express gender, and depending on their situation, their physical expression may not accurately reflect their gender. It's much better to just ask, in a way that isn't invasive or rude, if it isn't clear.
When do trans people know they're trans?
It depends, really. Some people know when they're young, some people when they're older. There's no correct time to know, and those who find out later are no less trans than those who know earlier.
Alright, so what's this I hear about gender dysphoria? What is it?
Alrighty. Gender dysphoria is the feeling of discomfort and distress someone feels when their biological sex doesn't match with their gender. This is something a lot of trans people experience, and for many that's how they figure out they're trans. This is different from body dysphoria, which is classified as a mental illness where the perception of their bodies doesn't align with reality. People experiencing gender dysphoria may experience some aspects of body dysphoria, but not all of it. Gender dysphoria is entirely different, and it is not an illness. It's stated as such in the DSM-5. I'd love to go further, but...
Oh, so all trans people have gender dysphoria then, right?
Well, not always. While gender dysphoria is common among trans people, not all trans people experience gender dysphoria. It's a Venn diagram type of thing. What most trans people experience instead is gender euphoria, the feeling of intense happiness and satisfaction when being correctly gendered. There is a huge debate in the trans community over whether gender dysphoria is necessary to the trans experience, but that's another topic, so...
Alright. So, does their, down there match up?
No, not always. And there can be a lot of reasons why. Maybe they don't feel the need to. Maybe they don't have the money to go through transitioning. Seriously, it's pretty expensive. Maybe they feel comfortable with the body they have. And reassignment surgery can be kind of terrifying. Reasons aside, it's irrelevant. If they say they're a woman regardless of their genitals. Nobody but the person themselves needs to know what their genitals are.
Is transsexual the same as transgender?
No, it's not. Transsexual is an older, outdated term originated in the medical communities. It specifically refers to people who have already changed or plan to change their bodies through medical intervention. It's a much more constricting term, and many people find it offensive because they feel it equates their gender to their genitals. At any point, transgender is the better term to use.
Just to be clear, this isn't a phase, right?
Nope.
And they aren't just gay?
Nope.
And they're not just drag queens?
Nope. Nor are they crossdressers. There may be transgender people who do drag and crossdress, but transgender people are not drag queens or crossdressers, and they shouldn't be referred to as such.
What's all this I hear about trans violence then?
That's not too happy a subject. Overall, progress is being made in the trans community with acceptance and publicity, which is great. But life in the trans community is still incredibly difficult. The trans community receives the most amount of violence, more than the rest of the LGBT community combined. And these hate crimes are growing too. This risk is even higher for trans women, and higher still for trans women of color. Hell, in some states, transgender people can legally be prosecuted for being trans. And the only place it isn't banned is in California. And media representation is nothing short of awful. But these are all topics that deserve their own videos. So, in summary, to be transgender is to not identify with the gender assigned at birth. Not all transgender people need to experience gender dysphoria to be trans, and unfortunately, transgender people have it pretty bad in society.
Okay, what am I supposed to do now?
Well, don't assume gender. If you're unsure what their gender is, refer to them by ungendered terms. Ask them what their gender is so you know how to refer to them in the future. Use whatever pronouns they prefer to use. And definitely don't try to challenge them based upon their appearance. There are plenty of reasons why somebody's gender expression will match their gender, and for some it may not be safe. And above all else, respect their experiences. And that's all. I know I introduced a ton of future topics, and I'll definitely get to them later. But before I leave, I'll ask you a question. Which video should I do next? I have a ton of topics planned, but if there are any that are widely requested, I'll do that first. Tell me below, and I'll see what I can do. Take care, everyone!